name is Nirbhai Nep Singh Sidhu, practicing and living from Toronto, born in the UK.
I'm Deep Kailey. I'm the artistic director of Without Shape, Without Form, based here in the UK. Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji is for everybody, and the idea of a Sikh is to be a student. And the question is then, who is the student? It's not the body, it's actually the mind. The mind is a light, it's something that we all have in common. That same light is within each and every one of us. So how then do we first and foremost connect with ourselves before connecting with each other? And that's where Unstruck Melody, the deep listening, kind of comes in. And the separation between us and the sounds is nothing more than thoughts and the pain that those thoughts cause us. And if we can be less distracted from the outside and do that inner work, then we can deeply connect with ourselves and therefore with each other and see what that does to the world. Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji teaches us that the mind is a light separate to the brain, and we can live in a world in which where we're waiting for science to prove things, and where we have been taught or trained that the brain and the mind are the same thing. The brain is an organ, is part of the body. When the body dies, the brain will also die, whereas the mind is a light and it continues. The mind is also disconnected from its original source. That's again where the Unstruck Melody comes in. It's that connection point.
Piece behind us, Medicine for a Nightmare. The scene takes place at Hazur Sahib that's depicted, but what you see happening is something that happens at various sites in terms of all of the potentials of sound and the practice of hearing and deep listening that occur within Sikhi, within both gurdwaras and outside gurdwaras. The exhibition looks at these tools as clear ideas that anyone can access anywhere. As Sikhs, we are without ritual by intention. And so access, when we speak to it, is an idea that is pluriversal to humanity, not universal, that is often one person or practice's idea of principles, but rather something that is from the ground up and is absolutely possible for people to realize in terms of this kind of healing and registration of flight that can take path for both the mind and the body. So when we're dealing with these ideas of representation, the place that I'm working from when I'm thinking about anything that is to be expressed has to be tied to the intentions of the principles. And by that I mean, if I'm looking in the case of some of the tapestry work and the pieces, I'm dealing with spiritual ascension. Ascension, by the way of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji, is something that is spoken to in a way of connecting to sounds, ideas and visions that are cosmic. They are far from what we can see. They are the unseen. At the same time, if we are guided to connect to such ideas and principles, we are also to be rooted to where we are, the location, by means of geography, by means of time, by means of responsibility to ourselves and to all those around us. We are not to receive such knowledge, go into caves and be isolated, or claim ourselves to be in tune and in touch with a bunch of techniques that make us superior. If we are to receive such knowledge, we are to take that knowledge and activate it. Not just have spirituality, but have a lived spirituality. And so when the opportunity arrives to be able to depict such an intention, it's a wonderful aspect to try to have a visual grammar for things that are cosmic and at the same time based on location, based on ideas that are both seen and unseen. This brings us back down to our ground, back to location, back down to time. It doesn't heighten any one individual above the other. It is not this type of iconography. We don't believe in any sort of God figure, anyone that is higher and lower. When we say we speak of oneness, that is also how we look at one another. So there can be no height, there can be no hierarchy in terms of that relationship. So when we are depicting a being, that person is not depicted as a typical sense of iconography that goes with portraiture. They are as we would be.
One thing that always sort of comes up is this question around art and spirituality. We make it quite clear that the two are separate. For us, art is this most wonderful tool and medium to access revealing of knowledge, transferring of knowledge, and to express different ideas in an interesting way. That in itself is not a spiritual practice. That is completely and utterly separate. The nice thing about walking into a space like this is inadvertently you've made a decision to be here, and therefore you've already switched off a little bit, so you are present. That's not to be confused with a spiritual experience. It's just that is a decision that has been made to be present. Now, spiritual practices, those only happen internally. They can happen on day to day as you're walking and as you're talking, as you're navigating the world, but we definitely keep the two are very much separate. One is the transfer of knowledge, and the other one is an actual internal practice.